Donald Trump has proposed a really nice progressive tax policy and no leftist wants to give him credit. I'm sure there's no reason for that beyond orange man bad, harumps. Right?
A wise guy, eh?
Salutations, fellow nerds. I'm Rick Y, and today is August 12th, 2025. Mark Cuban recently posted something worth sharing. One of my longtime Marine brothers sent it to me, and I'm actually really glad that he did. He says, hey, and then he tagged AOC, Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, and Elizabeth Warren. Every Dem should be thanking @POTUS for doing what the Dems have dreamed of doing but have never been able to do, creating a sales tax on two of the biggest semi-companies in the country. This opens a door for sales tax for export licenses on everything. He's going to generate corporate tax revenue you guys only wish you could pass. You should be thanking him all day, every day for this brilliant move you couldn't ever pull off. In the future, don't call it a tax, call it a commission for America. Boom. First, I might be reading this wrong, but if you're not catching any sarcasm in that post, take a breath and read it again with some of the dry humor that Cuban is known for. Now let's get into the weeds. Now, what he's talking about is Trump's new deal that forces AMD and Nvidia to pay 15% of China chip sales revenue. Technically, it's structured as a licensing fee, which in practice is a corporate wealth tax. So, yeah. As someone with left-leaning views, I admit that's +1 for Trump. Until you start to do some of that meddlesome poking around. Because on its face, this is a progressive approach. But I'm hesitant to applaud tax ideas from someone whose past tax policies overwhelmingly benefit the wealthy. And to keep consistent with what I told my Marine buddy, if this is truly progressive and AOC and Bernie Sanders aren't on board, that's a red flag. Whatever you think of those two, they're at least really consistent about their economic positions. So I dug in, and here's the thing. This 15% requirement looks an awful lot like an export tax. Time to grab my handy dandy notebook. Specifically in Article 1, Section 9, Clause 5 of the Constitution, it says no tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. Now, what that means is the federal government can't impose taxes or duties on goods exported from U.S. states to other countries, which was added to protect states, especially the agricultural South at the time, from being disadvantaged by export taxes that could favor some regions over others. And here's where it gets interesting, because export controls traditionally protect national security, not raise revenue. When you start monetizing them, you erode the integrity of what's supposed to be a security-first trade policy. A real-world example of this would be in the late 2010s and 2020s, when U.S. export controls on semiconductors and AI hardware were sold as a way to keep critical tech away from adversaries like China. But under both Trump and Biden, the Commerce Department's Bureau of Industry and Security issued licenses in bulk, allowing companies like Nvidia and AMD and Intel to sell slightly downgraded chips to Chinese firms like Huawei and SMIC. The rules were written so that those products would still be legal, but the result? Billions in corporate revenue and plenty of licensing fees for the government. National security says, cut off tech that could boost a rival's military or surveillance capabilities, even if it costs you money. But here, revenue and corporate lobbying took priority, with security just tacked on as some kind of talking point. And now for the subtle political hypocrisy jab. The MAGA folks and Republicans cheering this as a win are actually backing something that's essentially pay-to-play, crony capitalism. Big corporations negotiate special exemptions while everyone else has to follow the rules. That's the same criticism that they and Bernie Sanders supporters threw at Hillary Clinton, and I was one of them. And there's also another danger. Once market access becomes something that you can just buy through revenue sharing, other industries could face the same coercive licensing schemes. And that's not a golden age of business. That's a gilded age of the already prospered. I know it was short and sweet, but there was a lot to it, and if it helped clear anything up, let me know in the comments and consider liking and subscribing. It's free and it helps keep the dialogue alive instead of just adding more noise. Y'all come back now. You hear?